Have a seat on your porcelain throne. It's time to talk some shit on the Powell movement.
Welcome to the Powell movement. I'm your host, Mike Powell, and this week I'm going to try to get through this intro without crying. It should be known that I cry a lot these days, and I have every reason to. I mean, I've tried to be brave for the past 3 years, but I'm fucking scared right now. If you listen, you know that my wife has stage 4 cancer, and she's had it for 3 years. What I haven't shared is that there is no more treatment left, and right now, we're waiting on the inevitable. It's so sad and it's so scary. I mean, this is my human, it's the person I love, and they're leaving me. My kid's gonna be without a mom, and I just have so many thoughts running through my head right now. Aunt is so important to everything that I've done in my life for the past 20 years. And other than being my everything, she's the inspiration for why I even started this podcast. She's inspired me to do so many things. And she did make me promise that the week after she goes, that I have to take a week off of the podcast or she's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. So you can bet that I'm going to do that because that's the last thing that I want. So when you hear me take the first week off in 10 years, and then you hear a couple of the best of Inappropriate Questions episodes, you know the deal. I love my wife. I hate cancer. And I feel like I'm being robbed of our best years together. I feel so bad for Ange and Keaton. And yes, I feel really, really sorry for myself. It sucks so bad. And I could go on, but I can't with this intro. Because what doesn't suck is Craig Murray, aka Weezy Davis, and he's my guest this week. While he's not known for being the most marketable skier in the world, Craig is arguably the best in the game right now, and his winning performance at this year's natural selection was truly jaw-dropping. The way he skied that venue was different than almost anybody out there, and it was really amazing to see, and we talk all about it. Before I chat with Craig, I want to ask you to do a few things for me. First, please give a kind thought for Ange. She needs them. Second, tell a friend to listen to the show. It really does help it grow. And finally, please support the incredible brands that make the show happen. They are Elan Skis, Outdoor Research, Stanley, Liquid Force, and Best Day Brewing. Now, it's time to chat with Craig Murray. So we were going to do this podcast a couple of months ago, but you had things to do and we're doing it now. And I'm sure glad that happened because it gives us a lot of stuff to talk about at the end of the podcast. But we're not going to start with the most exciting thing that's probably happened in your career. We're going to start with your nickname. It is Weezy. And at first I thought it could have come from the Jeffersons with George and Weezy, but you're from New Zealand and you're too young to know what that means. And then I thought it was a Pauly Shore reference, but you're from New Zealand and too young to know the legendary actor Pauly Shore. So how did you get the nickname?
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be on and pleasure to chat. Yeah, so my nickname is Weez or Weezy. And real name is Craig Murray. I'm a professional athlete from Aotearoa, New Zealand. And yeah, I got the nickname from growing up in a very outdoorsy family. I was a middle child. And because I was kind of in the middle of every situation between my older brother Charlie and younger sister Fee, I always seemed to be involved but never get told off. And I'd weasel out of trouble. And so it started as Weasel and yeah, kind of progressed through the years and probably had that nickname since I was about 12, I think.
Well, it sounds like, yeah, you were able to get out of a lot of things. And while I would ask about them, I hear the Weasel thing still kind of goes because with this big event, natural selection that you had, you were able to travel the world without a passport. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, that was classic, actually. I had some friends just say that's the most classic move from you ever. But yeah, I had a nightmare. I've never even been close to really doing that before, but I showed up to the airport. Well, I guess more context to it is I was injured for a while, so I was just at home chilling. Usually I pack just the day before, I get everything I need, get it in a bag, and it's sorted, it's good. And I've got like a good system of packing. But because I was at home chilling for a while, I started packing like a week before my trip.
Okay.
So what happened is I kind of 95% packed or 90% packed, and then the last day I was leaving early that morning to go to Arc'teryx in Vancouver for the day and then flying out that night from Vancouver. So I was just chucked the last few things in, got up early, went to Arc'teryx, and I was just hanging out all day in Vancouver, and then finally go to the airport, roll up to the counter about 2 hours before my flight. I was like, yeah, there's plenty of time, which usually is. And I just walk up and I just go, before I even reach the person, I'm just like, oh God, I left my passports at home. So I'm really fortunate. I have a US passport and a New Zealand passport, but I'd left both of them at home. But the one thing I had done was I checked in with the airline online on my US passport. So I got to the counter and the guy's like, well, yeah, this isn't good, but technically you've checked in, so you're good from our end, and I can check your bags through, and then you can try if you want to go through the border into the US, because the border's in Vancouver Airport technically.
Okay.
And then if you get bounced, you just have to get your bags back and then retry tomorrow. And I was like, well, either way, I'm going to turn around now and I have to go get this sorted and come back in the morning. I was already one of the later athletes to show up to natural selection. That's the other part of the story. I was going to Alaska for natural selection. So I was one of the later athletes arriving. So I was like, okay, I really can't afford to be even later. So I was like, I got to take the risk, go through and just walk up to the US border. It was a pretty bad feeling just kind of walking up to a border agent and him asking for my passport and just going, yeah, sorry, don't have it. But how about my Kiwi driving license? And just gave them my Kiwi driving license, and they were like, okay, come with me. Took me out the back and just sat me down like a naughty little schoolboy, and went away for 5 minutes, came back, and actually, to my surprise, were like, well, your passport's valid. They were a pre-authorized border or something, so they said that they could do it specially, and they could actually let me through, but I wouldn't be able to leave the States. So then I was like, I had to make the call of, okay, do I go in now and figure out how I'm going to either get a passport in Alaska or somehow get back to Seattle and then come across the land border. But I decided at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this risk again. So, yeah, hopped on the flights and, yeah, managed to make my way to AK. And it all worked out in the end. I luckily had a good friend here I live with, Glenn, who shipped one of my passports up to me. But it was a bit touch and go. Yeah.
So the older Weez making it happen, being able to tell the customs people, hey, I need to get to Alaska. You were able to get there. We're not going to talk about that anymore. You brought up growing up in New Zealand. We talked about your brother and sister, you being in the middle. But when you think about your brother, he's a badass athlete in his own right. He's like a pro mountain biker. Can you kind of give his background of where he is right now?
Yeah, he's about to wake up actually in Poland and get stuck into the second World Cup of the season. So when I wake up, I'll be tuning into the live timing there. He's a professional enduro mountain bike racer. Yeah, rides for Specialized on the World Cup circuit. I've been joining him on that the last few years, which has been super fun, and racing myself, pivot, and yeah, had such a blast. Rode with so many good friends and met so many new Kiwis and Aussies kind of who migrate over there and travel around. And it's called originally started by an older group of bikers, but Kiwis and Aussies have been teaming up over there for years and call themselves the Vanzacks, because the best way to do it is buy a van, kit it out with bunk beds and basically a pretty dodgy setup, and then travel around for the summer and just camp and swim in rivers and lakes and hang out in these beautiful valleys and get to ride incredible trails across mountains with some great people. So yeah, I've had a few good years chasing the bike dream, and I'm about to take off to Denali for 3 weeks actually for an expedition. So I'm not racing this summer, but they had their first race in Italy last week, and then this week's Poland.
Sick. Well, Denali sounds like something we could talk about, but I'm not going to. What I will talk about with biking is the way that you ski, especially people that watch natural selection. It was like there was some rampage mixed in with skiing, it seemed like. Just some of the gaps that you were taking, they were just ridiculous. And does your vision from biking, does that kind of transfer over, or seeing the rampage aspect of mountain biking? Do you kind of see those gaps and then can you incorporate those into your skiing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, yeah, those rampage guys are crazy, and girls. I've been so stoked seeing those girls just take the bull by the horns, and I was especially stoked on last year and had some good friends there as well. But I've never been myself, and I would love to go and actually check it out in real life, and maybe there would be some similarities. I've got a lot of respect for all those athletes, but I am not really in that realm. Like, yes, I jump off stuff on my bike, but I'm not like hitting huge gaps and jumping off cliffs with backflips.
I almost look at it as like seeing Brandon Fairclough, some of the gaps that he does. Is that almost inspiration for you? Not that you can do that on a bike, but does it make you look at stuff differently skiing? Like, oh, I can ski diagonally across this whole thing at Mach fucking whatever and to just gap something that no one would even think was possible?
I don't know. Honestly, I think for me, I don't see as much similarity as some people might think with skiing and biking. There's definitely some stuff, but I think like once you get to a higher level, it is quite different. And the mentality's the same. You have to be like in a similar headspace and yeah, there's definitely stuff there. But in terms of like higher skills and whatnot, I think well, at least I've found that they are quite different still.
Oh, yeah. I would think the actual technical part of everything is just night and day. The mental, just pin it, step on it and go huge. That kind of stuff is similar in the balls that you have to have and the confidence you have to have in yourself. But they're obviously totally different things. I was getting on a tangent there. How about your sister? What sport did she go pro in?
She is incredible. She's most inspirational one in the family, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely a legend in her own right. And she was a few years younger, so she was always kind of having to catch up. And I think, probably a lot of younger sisters know, that can be pretty tough. But honestly, she was, well, still is, but when she was younger, she was like sending it on the skis. And I think she was doing backflips at the age of like 8. And she unfortunately broke her femur
Oh, no.
doing a backflip when I think she was 8. So she had a couple bad injuries, and yeah, after that, she got back into skiing after a femur, and yeah, it was super impressive. Started doing more park and pipe stuff. I think she was like 10 or 11 doing both way fives in the pipe, and yeah, just like a real go getter. And then she picked up mountain biking, and I think within 2 years, she was at the Junior World Champs and New Zealand National Champ, and has some great results and accolades in that realm as well. And then she had another bad injury biking, and after that, essentially has just done sport for fun. We got her involved in one of my projects, Terra Incognita, which was super cool, like a film project. And yeah, hopefully in the future we'll do more with both of them, both my brother and sister. We've kind of been focused on different sports and places, and unfortunately for me, like being a winter athlete doesn't really make sense to base in New Zealand. Our winters are 2 months long and pretty variable, so it's pulled me overseas a lot. I did a couple years living out of Innsbruck. I now live in BC, and
You've
yeah,
lived in
it's
Revelstoke. You've lived everywhere, like
yeah,
Chamonix.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done season Revelstoke, Chamonix, Verbier. It's been incredible, but yeah, definitely is like put distance between me and the family. So in the future, would love to do some more with everyone, and they're also capable and talented in the outdoors. Like it's pretty cool for us. Like just thinking about a trip, like where that realm starts, is like a pretty cool trip. We could be going on an expedition to the mountains or packing up some boats and going along a coastline. Like it's
Well,
pretty cool.
I mean, you guys were born to be outdoors and adventure. I mean, your parents are, or they were professional adventure racers. I mean, was that a big thing when you were growing up? Like, was that where they made their money, adventure racing, or was that a hobby?
That was I actually don't know. I've never really talked to them about that. I know that it was a hobby by the time we were there because they were having to deal with us, but maybe there was some income from that. I know that both mum and dad won a couple cars in some races. I mean, the funny thing is, back when they were younger, adventure racing and adventure sport was the cool thing, like windsurfing as well, as that was taking off. And there wasn't a lot of action in extreme sport. It was kind of just starting out. So then when we were growing up, we discovered kind of gravity in action sports. Then as technology got better and we grew up in this different realm of human power and pretty normalized type 2 fun. But yeah, eventually, like we found we were skilled in other areas as well and kind of pursued those less suffering.
Yeah. When you think about adventure racing, though, were your parents like on TV and stuff? And like, did people care about that stuff in New Zealand? Because I know it's like the extreme capital of the world, I would think, or at least the risk taking capital of the world. And
Yeah,
was adventure something that like your parents or some people would recognize them from the race?
yeah, I think so. I think they were kind of household names.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, I remember there's a couple really cool articles actually And there's some cool old TV footage I was digging through the archive, which was, really cool to see them competing and in their younger selves and just experiencing kind of that part of their life through what media has been saved is pretty cool. And they were pushing the level, I think, for a while.
That's so cool that they were doing that and they were like known entities in your country. And it's funny, I bring up TV and people knowing them on TV and you look at the archives, but when it came to TV, you wouldn't know them from that because you grew up without one, it sounds like. Is it one of those childhoods where it's like you're always outside or always learning some kind of skill, but there's no electronics at the house for you?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. We were just kind of out in the real world, and I think the outdoors became home and, a few different places geographically, but we just became so comfortable dealing with what the outdoors threw at us with overcoming challenge, or especially in New Zealand, the weather's so crazy and you're constantly just having to adapt. And I think we just got really comfortable with that. And yes, we were doing a whole range of different sports during that, but ultimately just being outdoors so much and kind of free range, like we were given super long leashes and just let to figure things out ourselves. And like there was a lot of hard times and times that, we were just having to problem solve. But I think like that built a lot of resilience and a lot of skill and experience just in like dealing with problems.
Well, it sounds like they kind of said, hey, figure it out, right? And you guys would have to figure it out, but you were able to do pretty much whatever you wanted.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not like they weren't there. They were always there and super supportive and wanted to help in any way they could. But I think it was first like try yourselves and try to help each other. And then, yeah.
I mean, kind of the way they were is like they taught you guys how to drive when you were probably 10 to 12, 13 years old. And then eventually you would get the car and get to go to Mount Olympus before you had a license. And they would trust you guys to do that, right?
Yeah, which is pretty wild. But I'm so glad that they did have that trust in us because that really shaped who we are today. And I truly believe that. And the way that they parented, that amount of kind of freedom that just fully shaped mentality and perspective of just what was possible, but also, what we could achieve and how we could build on our experience and interact with the mountains, I guess.
I mean, it seems like they taught you how to like kayak and raft and ski and do all the things that you guys do. And once they gave you the foundation, they kind of let you guys take that foundation and run whichever way you wanted. And your brother ran with it on a bike. And you, early on, you end up moving to Chamonix because you make the Junior Freeride World Tour or you make the Junior Worlds. So it's like you guys are able to kind of explore these things that most kids wouldn't be able to explore in any other family situation. But the way your family was and the adventure race kind of background is like, hey, we're going to trust these kids. And if they mess up, they're going to learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. And we were so fortunate because we had these talented parents that were patient and they made time. I mean, they made a lot of sacrifices. It was pretty busy for them, but they made time and trips to take us on and teach us and show us what it was like to explore a new place. And I mean, with New Zealand, you're so fortunate. There's so many incredible places you can go that very few people have been before, or you haven't been before. And we learned the whole mentality of like adventure and exploring very organically. And when I was 17, thinking back now, it's pretty wild. But when I was 17, I took that mentality overseas and I finished high school and basically worked for a little bit and then just flew overseas. And I was just by myself, had no plan, didn't speak French. And all I had was a ticket from Dion in the NZJFT into one event. And I didn't really know how anything worked. I didn't really know what free riding was. I didn't know there was this whole tour called the Freeride World Tour, and it just opened my eyes. And being in Chamonix, and then had amazing support from Campbell Cassidy, who's was a friend of Todd Windle, put in touch, and I don't know, things was like just there enough. But thinking about it now, it was a massive risk, and the fact that my parents let me go with not enough money in my bank account to make it, and I just think it's wild, and like that was kind of the trust they had in us, but that's exactly what I needed, I guess. Yeah.
So the reason you go there is because you won that Dion tour and you get a ticket to the Junior Worlds in Andorra, which I don't even think you did that well at, but you did really well at some other contests that year, which really was a big deal for you. But when you're going, are you a known entity in the world of New Zealand skiing? People know about you a little bit and you've won this contest series, but it's not like you have this pro ski career ahead of you and you're really just taking a full-on risk of like, I'm just going to do all of this, go all in myself and just see what happens because you're 17 and why not?
Yeah, I guess it was like a mix of just, well, actually it was mainly just playing it live, but once I got over there, I realized that, there was like this junior Freeride World Tour, which I entered in. And that was super cool at the time because it would go to the same stops as the Freeride World Tour within Europe. And that was what I ended up doing super well in and ended up taking the overall title of. Yeah, I just met people along the way and, just put my best foot forward, tried to just be open. And I remember at the end of that trip, I was there for 5 months. I felt like I'd learned more in that 5 months than I had in my whole life.
Oh, just like worldly experience, how to be an adult, and then the whole ski world, and then that there's a future for you in this, like all of this you're learning in 6 months.
Yeah, it was just even from interacting with other people and like there was just so much there that just my eyes opened. And I think before that I was pretty just happy-go-lucky, growing up in New Zealand from an incredible and supportive family and was pretty fortunate in that position and living in the first world and kind of not having too much to worry about. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's just like you're thrown into this world where you have to have to look after yourself and you have to have your antenna on at all times, I guess. And I think just having my antenna on, I just started picking up on all these different things that I hadn't seen before.
It's time for my first sponsor break, and I'm going to start out with Liquid Force. And not only are they back supporting the podcast, but this summer, they're bringing back the most important party and event in wakeboarding. That's right, Brostock is back, and the contest features the best riders in the world, and the event is so much more than that. But that's not all Liquid Force is up to this summer. You know what's more fun than watching the pros ride? Riding with them, and you can ride with the Liquid Force pros like Daniel Grant, Claudia Pagini, and Gunther Oka at a local lake or cable park near you at their Ride with the Pro Tour. And while Liquid Force is doing all these great things to build community on the water, they're also on the forefront of product innovation. And if you're a foil frother, you're going to want to check out the new FuseLock foil system. Wake surfers are going to love the all-new Ace and Synchro offerings. And the 2025 line features fresh boards, rad graphics, and more comp vest colorways than ever before. Park to boat to foil, Liquid Force has gear for every rider type, whether it's boat, cable, foil, or surf. To find out more about the events and the products, head on over to liquidforce.com. And when you see something you like, put it in your cart, and when you check out, enter the code POWEL15, that's all caps with no spaces, and you will save 15% off your order. Liquid Force, feel the pull. Next up, it's Elan Skis. And Elan doesn't need to support this podcast in the summertime. I've said that every summer. But they do it because they understand the importance of cultivating the stories that make the snow industry what it is. But if you haven't noticed, while they've always been big in Europe, Elan has built a growing cult following here in the States. It all started with the still thriving ripstick revolution that made skiing easier and more fun for anyone that tried them. That same idea, easier and more fun, is what they delivered to their Playmaker series of twin tips. How does Elan deliver a better ski experience? Well, it's all about using the best materials known to man. And that's no joke. This is the same Elan that's known for building award-winning luxury yachts. So they never cut corners. And the fit and finish is better than anything else on the ski wall. Seriously, if you pick one up and you look at the edges and you see those seams of glue on all the different skis, look at Elan's and you're going to see a seamless pairing because they do take that additional time to pay that attention to detail, and it's awesome. And it makes everyone feel like they're making pro-level turns. And that's what skiing is all about, that feeling. So remember, before you buy your next pair of skis, demo a pair of Elans, or just head on over to elanskis.com, pick a pair, and elevate your skiing experience. My final sponsor this round is Best Day Brewing. And while I love the taste of a good beer, I don't always need the alcohol. I mean, my life revolves around driving my kid places, running errands, interviewing people, managing my family, and all of these things I do better when I don't have a head full of alcohol. That's where Best Day comes in. These days, if I'm not partying, I'm still having beers, and those beers are from the award-winning Best Day Brewery. And there are a lot of NA beers out there right now, but none taste as good as Best Day. I love the hazy IPA, the Kolsch that you can get on all Alaska airline flights, and everyone seems to like the Electro Lime Cerveza. I could go on and on as they have so many flavors, and I love them all. The beauty of Best Day is that they average about 60 calories and they won't get you in trouble. And pro tip, if you're partying, try to mix in a Best Day for every alcoholic beverage you have, and it will extend your night. It does it for me, and it keeps me from doing anything stupid. To have your best day or night ever, head on over to bestdaybrewing.com. If you make that order over $50, we'll also throw in free shipping. Those are my sponsors. Now let's jump back into the podcast. Do you come back to New Zealand after that trip with just like a new sense of confidence? Like you almost a different person, like carrying yourself a different way?
At that point, I don't think I was like a different person, but I felt like I'd seen so much and I was so grateful for it and equally as like keen to keep going down that path at that point.
And then when you win the Junior Freeride World Tour, do you get an automatic entry into the Freeride World Tour?
No, you don't. So you have to go onto the qualifying tour.
That's kind of a buzzkill. It's like you win this whole thing, you'd think at least one person would get the golden ticket. So you go on the qualifying tour. How long does it take you to qualify for the main event?
I was fortunate. I managed to do it in the first year. Yeah, I got 2 wins at 2 4-star events, and it was actually the first event of the season in Hochfugen in Austria, and the last event of the season also in Austria, but in Obergurgl. But during that season, I was still really, I loved skiing. I loved what I was doing and kind of excited by this whole new ski world that I discovered. But I told myself during that season I wasn't going to do another season on the qualifiers, whether I made it or not. And I obviously ended up making it and, going on to the Freeride World Tour the following year. But I don't know. For me, aspects of that wasn't kind of what I thought it would be, or maybe I got tired of it or homesick or whatever. But I just ended up thinking halfway through, okay, well, actually, that's okay that I maybe don't want to do this and that there are other things in skiing I could do. I thought about moving to BC, and that's actually also when I started studying in New Zealand because I was like, wow, I know that I'm over here, things may or may not work out, but I want to keep learning in other parts of my life. So I enrolled in university. I was motivated by my friends that went out of high school just a year prior and were already studying. So I was keen to get that going as well.
So you're like a motivated dude, and I think your mom and your dad are both educated people. So it's one of those things where I think I had like thought about in my outro of whatever I'm going to say, which I don't even know what it is yet. But I was thinking about you are not going to be just known for your skiing. It's like you already have 2 degrees and you'll probably do more schooling, but educating your brain is something that's important to you. But on the Freeride World Tour, you were a fixture on that for about 6 years. And it's you and your crew of friends. You travel the world hoping for good snow. You take 1 or maybe 2 runs, and on a couple of different occasions, you're able to win. But it's weird because you're one of those guys, I believe, who's like an environmentally conscious person who thinks about your carbon footprint. Like at the natural selection, not all the athletes were concerned with carbon footprint, but it was something that you thought about. And when you think about the Freeride World Tour, does it go against almost everything you think about? Like, hey, we're going to get this traveling circus of 40 people and we're going to let them ski 1 run, but we're going to waste all these resources to get them places?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and it's my biggest gripe with what I do. And honestly, it's probably the biggest weight on my shoulders because as someone that really loves the natural world and feels like they connect deeply on that on so many levels there. Also, I calculate my footprint and I've got like 4 times a normal person's footprint, which is not great. Yeah, it's horrible actually. And it's a horrible feeling for me. I do a bunch of tree planting and I do everything I can to minimize that. I'm super conscious with energy, with recycling and rubbish. There's so much you can dig into, but at the end of the day, I'm burning more gas than other people, and it's not that fun.
And talking to people about you, they talk about how you're just like a genuinely kind human and good person. And it sounds like that really affects you. It's like, because I've talked to other people who'll be like, you know what? I am just one person and my footprint, I have a big voice. So while my voice is huge, my footprint's going to be a little bit bigger too, because the voice has to be heard and things like that. But there's none of that for you. You genuinely feel bad, and that's a conflict of what you do. But at the same time, like, you need to do what you do.
Yeah, I feel horrible. And it's, on my conscience 24/7. And I think maybe it's like the Kiwi part in me, but I believe in just like putting your money where your mouth is. And when I can't really put my money where my mouth is because of my other goals and aspirations in skiing, or when I can't, environmentally back up how I feel, then I find it hard to like advocate because it is so easy to be a hypocrite. And like, I get that there's other ways you can do it. And maybe like my perspective, I mean, I still do, but yeah, my perspective is like cowardice or whatever. But I don't know. I think I'm still figuring out how I have to like wrestle with it. And yeah, I do like organize tree plantings and get people involved. And I like do charity events and like a lot of stuff for non-for-profits, and I do advocate, but I think there's a lot of skiers out there that have taken, and it's an impressive and incredible stance of, advocating, even though they know that they're not perfect. And yeah, I used to be a bit more into that, and then I kind of just have felt worse and worse with the reality of what I do. And maybe like calculating my footprint isn't a good idea because it just makes me feel so bad. But yeah, anyway.
Well, it's awesome that you care and you really think about that and you can hear it in your voice. What you said that definitely sparked my curiosity was you said put your money where your mouth is. And talking about the Freeride World Tour, you won a couple events over the years. I think there were a bunch of podiums and you were known for going absolutely huge. I would think, is that where sponsors come on board, is like your Freeride World Tour era?
Yeah, it was a cool time for me because I went from my junior season, I had to borrow money to make it home, and then I worked for the whole time before I went away again. But I didn't earn enough money to like make enough for my next season and pay off the debt I owed. So I was like going into a negative feedback loop, and then the same thing happened again where I had to borrow money. And then once I made the Freeride World Tour, it was incredible. Atomic and Genty at the time, who was a team manager, basically sent me a contract. And at that moment, 2018, no, that was in 2017. And at that moment, I was I was paid to ski, and that changed everything for me. And I started getting paid by Atomic on contract that first year, and then I had a couple second places in my first season, which was incredible. And that was like good because I had incentives in my contract as well. So I got bonuses as well as prize money. And I think actually the prize money back then was pretty solid. So once I'd kind of got through that season, able to pay off all my debt and start putting myself through university. So that was a huge swing in my life and kickstart for my career, really. And then I think that following year, Mons Royale, who's based in Wanaka, they started supporting me as well. And so I had this like cool collection of brands. I don't know, I was pinching myself, really.
That's amazing. I would think that when you're getting paid from these companies, I mean, like, is Atomic paying you from Austria or somewhere like that, and the money just being a lot more because you're in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's the problem with like being a Kiwi and trying to like earn money to go overseas is you basically take your money and then you half it, and then you
Yeah.
go and you try and get accommodation and ski passes and travel, and everything's just like, yeah, super tough. But the converse is when you do get paid from Europe, yeah, it's at least 1.5, or depends on like fees and transactions and how currencies are going, but that was helpful.
And then in terms of like the New Zealand government, I mean, I had Jossie Wells on the show before. It sounded like they supported his skiing, I think paid for some of his travel and really got behind him. And he's like a national treasure, I feel like there. Any skier, if you don't know who Jossie Wells is and you're in New Zealand, that would be crazy. You have to know who he is and know their whole family. But did you ever get help from the government?
He essentially, I think what you're talking about is like, yeah, help through, the sporting body. And because of freestyle and the Olympics, and they had a lot of access to funding. I don't get funding, but I get like that body is open to supporting us, which is super cool. But I guess with freeriding potentially going Olympic in the 2030 or beyond, there will be like funding opening up for athletes all across the world in their different countries from these national sporting bodies who can now allocate towards freeride because it's Olympic and because it has a world champs and all that.
Okay. When you think about the people that sponsor you today, who are the brands? What's your list?
Arc'teryx, Atomic, POC, and Yeti, and then Pivot Cycles for bikes.
You mentioned something about not being a hypocrite earlier, and I would think that's probably true with your brands too. Like, are you one of those guys who wouldn't do an energy drink because you wouldn't want to poison kids?
Yeah, I don't know if you could pay me $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
So, I mean, but you're that serious in your convictions. If Red Bull came up and was like, we've got $1 million and a personal project for you, you would actually have to think about that.
for sure. I did a commercial when I was younger, and it was for like a product that I didn't believe in, and I felt so horrible after that. And you have to remember as well, this is coming from like a fortunate position. I have brands that support me, and I can afford to get through my year, and I don't have to work a second job. So, like, it is a privileged position to be coming from. But like, I have so many amazing friends that do support energy drinks, but it's just not me. And if that stuff was on my conscience and I don't want to have extra stuff when I'm falling asleep at night, or it's just, yeah.
I get it, but it speaks to your morals and your character for sure. Because some people, even if they don't drink the product, are still going to work for those brands. And then there's other people who love the product and work for the brands, and more power to them because that's doing what they believe in. Whatever, we don't need to talk about energy drinks.
I do want to also just like acknowledge what energy drinks has done for action sports, because it's been incredible, and like action sports wouldn't be where it is without them. And there's been so many incredible events that have happened. And like you say, I've got so many friends that do love the product, and yeah, power to them. Like, if you back the product, then go for it.
It is a paycheck, and those paychecks seem to be really, really big compared to other paychecks. And some people like that. Some people need that. So I'm not going to shit on anybody for taking the checks that they take. But you're a man of high character who's not going to take anything that he doesn't believe in, which is pretty cool. Thinking about you as a person in New Zealand, while I'm sure in some ski towns around here, people know who you are. You're one of those guys that's so humble that you can win the biggest contest in the world, and you're still not even going to be super ski town famous until people see you ski, and then they're like, holy shit, I think that's Craig Murray. But just at the bar, they might not know it's you right away because you're not a marketing machine of yourself. You've kind of kept that to yourself. But in New Zealand, are you famous?
I don't know.
Do people like recognize you, and are you on TV, or they like write about you? And with the natural selection winning that, did everybody want a piece of New Zealander winning the biggest event in ski history almost?
No, I don't think I'm famous. Maybe within like the outdoor industry or sport industry in New Zealand, like I would be recognizable. But no, I'm definitely not Richie McCaw or Helen Clark famous.
Okay. When you think about the Freeride World Tour, we said you were a staple on it for like 6 years. How does that end? Do you decide you're over competing, or was it just like, hey, I'm going to film with MSP, although you had filmed a bunch on personal projects before, you're going to step up to the big leagues with MSP? Or what was the deal when stepping away from competing?
It ended up being natural in the end. I think my final year, I didn't actually make the cut, but I was kind of already doing like other stuff anyway throughout that season and the season before. And I had a few injuries, and yeah, I was kind of trying to recalibrate and focus on the kind of skiing I was trying to do and what I was hoping to show. And I was really fortunate to be having opportunities in these places that seemed a bit more in line with like that skiing I was going for, like the type of skiing that I visualize and putting that on a slope. You don't have a lot of opportunities for that. So yeah, I mean, I honestly had the best time of my life on the Freeride World Tour. So many incredible moments and memories, so many good friends, and yeah, met so many people, visited insane cultures. Yeah, I've got nothing but good memories of my years there, and I've got nothing against the tour. And yeah,
It's incredible. I wish sometimes the live streams are better, but everything in concept behind the Freeride World Tour is exactly what it should be. It's just it didn't always work out.
Yeah, I mean, I've got so much respect for anyone in winter event organizing. I think it's a nightmare. And yeah, hats off to anyone that takes on that.
Your next transition is kind of into the film world. We say MSP, and I don't remember which MSP movie it was, and we're not going to talk too much about any of your filming because we're going to talk a whole lot about natural selection in a minute. But there was like that 70-foot double in Alaska. I think it was your first trip ever to Alaska. And was that something calculated where you're like, I'm finally on a trip with MSP to Alaska, and I need to do something that's going to stand out, almost like what Nobis did on Pyramid or whatever when he made 3 turns and changed the world of big mountain skiing. Then you're doing a big double in Alaska like that. Was that calculated, or did that just happen, or what was the thought process?
I honestly think like that's kind of just how I ski, is like when things align, or yeah, when there's a hit, I'll go for it. And I think, yeah, it's kind of that spontaneous and spark type skiing that just happens. I don't know. It wasn't too calculated. Like
I mean, do you get on a plane when you're going to Alaska? When you're on that plane, are you thinking, man, I might try to throw a double on this trip just because no, so it's just something that happens in the moment.
Yeah, definitely not. I had no expectations, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that just happened in the moment, and some other stuff. Like we got really bad weather on that trip, and I hurt my thumb. And I think like especially at that part of my career, I was definitely going for it, and like I would take those opportunities to go big if conditions were good. And yeah.
It's time for my second round of sponsors, and I'm going to start things out with Outdoor Research. I've been using OR products since I moved to Seattle almost 25 years ago because they outperform everything on the market. I mean, they build their products to perform in the wet and soggy cold weather of the Pacific Northwest. And when you live where we do, you need to have the best in class. While OR has always been known for building industry-leading gear for mountaineers, skiers, and snowboarders, they've gone all in on an award-winning bike line that FreeHub describes as Outdoor Research has once again raised the bar, offering riding gear that's not just functional but also stylish and durable. That meticulous design and thoughtful engineering of the Freewheel collection have the power to transform the mountain biking experience. So high praise, and Outdoor Research is doing a lot of things on the athlete side. While they launched with an incredible team, they had the Van Steenbergen brothers, Georgia Astley. This year, they've added Casey Brown, Carson Storch, and others. And between the athletes and the events they support, while OR might be new to the bike world, they've always lived it, and there's not many brands doing what OR is doing in the world of bike. To see the new products and what the hype is all about, head on over to OutdoorResearch.com. My final sponsor is Stanley, the iconic Northwest brand that invented the category of keeping things hot and cold over 100 years ago. You remember Stanley from your grandfather's green thermos that kept his coffee hot forever when he took you out on adventures. Well, Stanley still makes that bottle and so much more. Think tumblers, water bottles, barware, camping utensils, coolers, vacuum bottles. There really is something for everyone at Stanley. And between the unique colors and the collaborations that Stanley's doing, there really is something for everyone in the Stanley line. And they're not going to gouge you with crazy prices. Stanley is the originator, and they pride themselves on providing you and me with the best products at the best value. And that value gets even better when you shop with my code. To use it, head on over to stanley1913.com, go shopping, and buy a ton of stuff because, like I said, this code is 30% off. It's the best deal that Stanley offers. And when you check out, enter the code capital POWELL. That's Powell 2025. So no spaces in between that. Capital POWELL 2025. That's where you get your code. Thank you very much for the support, Stanley. They make the best gear in the world. You've seen them everywhere. And if you don't have one, you definitely need one. Those are my sponsors. Now let's jump back into the podcast. I'm going to jump into natural selection. I look at the two most important events in action sports being Rampage and the Natural Selection Series. And when you heard about the ski one, did you think there would be any chance that they would invite you to be one of the 8?
No, honestly, I didn't. I obviously hoped that I would be, but I think I had 95% confidence I wouldn't be invited.
And I would say that even after you were invited, if you asked a random amount of people who was going to win the event, other than the people at the lodge where you guys stayed, where it sounded like you did all the housework, like everybody would look around and while they were partying or doing stuff, you'd be vacuuming or putting away dishes or doing whatever. And the whole staff was like, we want Craig to win. But other than those people, no one would have predicted you to beat that crowd. It was all star, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much to comment on that, I guess.
Yeah.
But also, shout out to the lodge staff. They were awesome. Yeah.
But you know what I'm talking about? Like when I say you're a nice person who's humble and all this, like that's what you were doing is like you were helping people do their jobs when you weren't working. You were just there to be a guest, but you were helping the staff.
Yeah, I guess that'll always be part of me and who I am is like I don't want people to have to clean up after me, or I want to help and I want to like collaborate with people in whatever form that is. And I see all sides of it these days. And I'm fortunate to I don't know. I don't want to go too far into it. But
okay, yeah, we don't need to go that far into it.
I'm happy to, but I just get lost because it's kind of like internal and integral to me. And I don't know how to like talk about it, I guess.
Well, we all know from what you've said so far that you are a stand-up human who's always going to do the right thing. You're probably one of those guys that helps old ladies cross the street and put their groceries in their car. You're definitely not one of the people who would leave their grocery cart in the parking lot because you're too lazy to put it away. That's not you. I think everybody can figure that out right now. But with natural selection, so you get the invite. What does that look like? I know Mike Douglas is the athlete manager of this whole deal. Do you just get a random phone call from him and it's like you start shitting your pants?
Yeah, pretty much. I was kind of off my phone, but I checked my phone at one point in the evening and had a text from Sam Cooch, and he was like, "Oh, yo, you should check your phone." Or maybe I can't remember how that worked, but I had a text from Mike Douglas also saying, "Hey, let me know if you're free for a call." And I think at that point, I figured it was something to do with natural selection. I still didn't want to let myself think it was an invite, but I think the fact that like he was going around calling people, and I kind of knew that Sam was involved somehow, maybe through Cole or something. But yeah, when he officially was doing the invites, he was calling around. I think he said to Sam, "Oh, I'm gonna call Craig as well." Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then got on the phone to Mike and didn't get a lot of info, but just got the invite, and that was incredible. Actually, I was with a bunch of Arc'teryx crew, and yeah, we were pretty stoked.
I mean, do you start screaming and yelling after you hang up the phone? Like, I'm in natural selection, everybody erupts, and then you go to the bar and have beers? Is that kind of what that's like?
No, it's not quite my style. I can't remember. I think I just thanked Mike and phoned down and had a moment of like, wow, that's an incredible opportunity. And then, yeah, I think over dinner or something, kind of just mentioned it to a few people. I think someone else announced it maybe. And then, yeah, we had a little celebration.
That's awesome, man. Well, that's you should
Yeah.
celebrate that. So, what are the rules? Do they pretty much say, "Hey, like get yourself to this airport at this time in Alaska and have proof of insurance and then you're taken care of?"
More or less. It was they'd organized everything in Alaska. We just had a date to be there. And yeah, it was pretty smooth, to be honest. I mean, it was in second half of March and 2-week window, and pretty easy, yeah, in terms of like logistically from our end. It was just get on a flight without a passport and
Yeah.
roll up there.
And I mean, you've spent your whole life doing the Free Ride World Tour. They're great. We've said that. But it's a different experience. I mean, first, does Red Bull give everybody money to come to this event so you can pay your way there? Or is it like, we're just going to take care of you when we get you there? Because in Rampage, I think they all get money.
Yeah, I think everybody gets like attendance
Okay.
money.
So that's cool. So then you get there, and are you picked up in Escalades from the airport and everybody taken to Alyeska to nice hotel rooms with crazy gift bags in them?
I think that's actually spot on. I'm pretty sure we got a shuttle to and then there was some gift bags.
What'd you get?
We just got like a bunch of Yeti bottles, which are really sick, and it was pretty funny. With like Cooch and I had to like check extra bags, like because we had all these Yeti products.
Did you get more than everybody else?
No, I mean that was the arrival stuff, but then throughout the event, obviously, yeah, Cooch and I picked up a couple of the like hard cases with the trophies in it as well. So we were flying home a bit heavier.
Well, that's what you want to do when you go on trips like that, I would think. And for you, those are all just like added benefits to get a ton more product, but you're sponsored by them, so it doesn't even really matter, I wouldn't think. So you go into this event with a hurt knee, like there's something wrong with your patella, and you hadn't skied in like a month. So are you pretty much like, hey, I'm just gonna not ski at all and then just send it on event day and see what happens?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, I had like double patella tendinopathy, so I stopped skiing probably 3 weeks before, and then when we were in Alyeska, I unfortunately wasn't riding the resort with the crew, but then we had like a couple runs warm up near the venue itself.
Go on that party shred like Heli Day with Travis
Yeah,
Rice and all those guys. I heard that was the best day of skiing and riding that a lot of people had in their entire lives.
yeah. So it was incredible. It was so cool. There was a lot of us out there. We only got a couple runs, but what it meant was, say there was I guess 12 athletes skiing, but Travis as well. But you'd go down and then you just get to watch like 10 people just slay unreal runs, and it was just like this session, like one of the best sessions I've ever been a part of.
I can't even imagine seeing that. And so when you see all of those people in person, because it is a different thing, I think, when you watch any athlete in person to the video, because you don't know what's first try and you can't really just see the depth and breadth and size of everything until you're in person. But when you think about the athlete who was like the most gifted, who almost stood out, because I'll say, I mean, based on the skiing at the contest, you and Sam stood out in the way that the speed that you skied everything. You know, it wasn't like you guys were the trick guys. I mean, you did have some, but it wasn't like that was your focus. You guys stood out for speed. But when you looked at the most talented athletes at natural selection, who was the most talented and where did Travis Rice fit into that?
Yeah, Travis blew our minds for sure. Yeah, he's pretty insane, just his experience and knowledge and skill. But honestly, like on competition day, just watching Sam was pretty unreal. He was just slaying run after run, and in the warm up days too. I mean, everybody was incredible. Like the warm up days, I've never seen anything like it, and everyone was skiing at such a high level. Anyone could have won the comp. It was impossible to say, apart from me. But yeah, I think like then come comp day, it was pretty cool to just see Sam kind of in a groove, and I would have loved to seen him stick a line in the finals, but it was so cool to see and really special to share it with him.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were roommates during the trip too?
Yeah, all the way through, actually, tents and everything.
So he told you about the call, what was coming. So he spoils your surprise. And then you spoil his final run. Not really, but it's funny that you start together, you find out about this with him, you room with him throughout the whole thing. Then you guys are the big final and you end up winning it, which is pretty amazing. Do you get to interact with Travis Rice? And is that like a surreal thing? Because I would think you're not starstruck around any people, but like Travis Rice is Travis Rice.
I just think it's maybe more of like a understanding and respect for the amount of time, energy, and kind of like dedication he's put into sport in the mountains, because I know what that's like on a smaller scale, and like so just seeing what he's created and done over the years, like that almost creates more like the aura. Like I have more respect for, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like it was kind of cool as well, to be honest, to be out there with Travis, and like there was a few times we were like, this is wild.
And thinking about other people at Natural Selection, there's so many personalities there. Who was the loudest person at Natural Selection? It's not you.
I don't know.
All right. How about the funniest? Is there anybody really funny there that you didn't know was a comedian until you got there?
Probably Parker White.
And then most talented off snow. Was there someone that just could do everything well?
Wow. Cooch always has random tricks up his sleeve, but I don't know, Maggie kind of, yeah, she was running around on the down days, and yeah, that was kind of cool to see.
I don't even know what it means if she was running around on the down days, but I guess it was cool to see. We can leave it at that. The one thing about the event is the snow, it sounded like, was pretty good for the first 6 days or so that you were in Alaska, but then everything changed. And I guess for you, where you grew up skiing, I mean, the snow always seemed to suck anyway. Did it matter to you that the conditions changed that much?
Yeah, I was gutted that it wasn't what it could have been, and it was a shame because the girls kind of drew the short straw a little bit, and I was really excited to see them rip it up, and it was like, yeah, such a last minute curveball. It was a shame, but personally, I mean, I'd never skied snow like that, let alone competed in it. Like, I mean, in New Zealand, we don't get that much snow, so if there's like a crust or something, it's not like such a crazy crust where you've got like snow beneath it, or if that makes sense.
So it was awful.
Yeah, on anything with south and east in it, it was like horrible. And yeah, it was about minimizing, for me, it was just about minimizing my time on those aspects. And I don't know if you can't really see in the live stream, I don't think, but I like almost crashed on my quali run because of the like ice, and my skis kind of crossed and it was all random. It was a challenge, honestly, and I'm impressed that everybody like did what they could. But yeah, the finals venue is way better, and it's a shame that we all didn't get to ride that, but it's just like how it happened with timing and the conditions and schedule. So yeah, incredible face all up. It was just a shame of that last minute change.
And then I think it all ended up going, it was supposed to be a 2-day event, but it goes all into 1 day with a bad knee. And I mean, you had a couple bad crashes. Does that make it harder on you? Or did the crashes actually give you more confidence? Like, oh, I didn't screw up my knees.
Like the crashes, I didn't hurt as much as I thought, but maybe it's just because I had a lot of adrenaline going by then and kind of was in a flow for the day anyway. I think maybe it was better for me that it ran in 1 day, well, better for my knees and pain-wise, because, you know, if I had to then get up the second day, and like I would have probably been, in more trouble.
Okay, so that works out for you. And I mean, we can go through this, but I think everybody should just watch the event because, I mean, what you and Sam did at the end, it's really hard to put into words, just the speed and the way that you looked at the mountain differently than everyone else. And it was an incredible event that's only going to get better. I feel like the only other event that comes close, and I always say this because I was a part of this event, but did you ever hear about the K2 back nine, or were you too young?
I've definitely heard about it.
Well, I was a part of that one. Mike Douglas won that one. And it was similar. We had like the Eddie Aikau kind of 48-hour window where wherever you were in the world, you had to get here in 2 days. And the conditions, I think we got a little bit luckier because we had the 48-hour window that we had to do it in when everybody got there. But this thing's only going to get bigger and better. And you're the winner of this. And when you think about it, in the Kiwi world, do you guys do the 10% rule?
We do. Yeah.
Do you win a lot of money for winning arguably the biggest event to ever happen in skiing, or at least in freeride?
Yeah. I think, yeah. What do you,
How much do you win?
I think it was 15K.
Did you do a $1,500 bar tab at some point, or is that to come?
Partially, but short answer is no. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to organize a proper event and celebration. But we were kind of like rushed out of there in some ways. Like we did have a night all together, which was super nice at the lodge, but it wasn't a bar or anything there. We just had what we'd brought. But yeah, I'd love to organize like a fun day or evening, a celebration or something. And yeah, actually funny, we've like been offered our prize money in Bitcoin, which is interesting. But with everything going on, yeah, I think with a bit of research should be worth looking into.
Yeah, I don't know what you do there. I don't really mess with that, but that's me, and I'm sure you could probably do it and make a killing off it. I see all kinds of people's friends' profiles get hijacked saying they've helped a lot of people get rich off of Bitcoin, but I don't believe any of that. Either way, when we think about the 10% rule, what's the wildest night you've had with a Kiwi crew? Because I know you guys travel in packs and you guys get crazy. And while you're reserved, I would think that after 1 a.m., I would hope that your friends would get you getting crazy.
Yeah, there's been some wild nights go down. Honestly, a lot of it's probably not fit for the podcast, but there was one well, it's actually more than one night, but yeah, we were with a crew in Golden, BC. And the classic thing actually is, I don't know if they are still doing it, but they have like World Tour after parties for the event, but if the event's delayed, they'll still run the after party and it'll end up being before the event.
Okay.
So yeah, there were a group of Kiwis. We rented an Airbnb in Golden and yeah, kind of went massive. I remember I woke up on like the kitchen floor in my sleeping bag, and it was the day before the comp. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, no worries. Like I'll cruise up today, and obviously just thought it was the morning. I was like, yeah, I'll go up, scope out the venue, and do some runs, just check out, and then go to like make some breakfast, and it's 3 p.m. So I've just fully missed the whole day, and then luckily get a bit of sleep that night, but have to wake up at like 5 or 6 to get up the mountain and I think it was -30 that day.
Oh, geez.
And went up to the ridge line, and that actually ended up doing really well that year, which was pretty funny. And then we had a great night after that, but that was one that sticks out for sure.
All right. Well, that is the body of our podcast, but I end every show with something that I call inappropriate questions. And I get someone that you know to ask 3 questions, and they can be anything. And this week I was able to get your filmer, a guy that you're really good friends with, Finn Woods, to ask the questions. Finn came up with 3. Yes. And are you ready for question number 1 from Finn?
I don't know about this.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Morning, Mike. Morning, Weezy. Your old mate Finn Woods here. Long time listener, first time caller, just dialing in from Mexico. No doubt that head of yours will be looking awfully shiny, Weez. And I hope you got your phone on silent, because you know what happened last time we did a podcast. Anyway, I've been instructed to give you a couple questions. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Can you run us through what your natural selection training regime looked like? What were you up to get ready for the event?
Not very inappropriate, but hopefully there's an inappropriate answer.
Oh, man. Yeah. So we dreamt up this natural selection training regime. And I mean, obviously I work hard behind the scenes and like, yeah, I'm an athlete. So like I do train, but also like kind of just having a bit of fun with it and really like pushing professional sport in a more casual way. And we did a few episodes. You can catch them on my YouTube. One was actually with Finn's brother, who's unreal Kiwi character who you have to go and watch. But he was like a psychiatrist and sat me down and basically taught me through visualization techniques and mental toughness. So I was skiing blindfolded, which is a lot harder than it's, or maybe it's not. Yeah, trying to do anything down a hill blindfolded is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things he recommended. And the next one was as he put it, getting ready for face shots going down the slopes, and he got a snowblower and basically blasted my face from a snowbank. And then what else did we do? I did media training with Katie Burrell, and she basically just roasted me for half an hour.
Okay.
And then, I got Spencer O'Brien to help me with some snowboarding, but that didn't go too well.
All right, so that's how you train to be the natural selection champion right there. We are going to jump into question number 2. I will cue it up right now.
I actually consulted our good mate Jamessa for this as well, and would both love to hear about the time you crashed a certain public figure's motorbike into an electric fence. Whose was it and what happened?
Oh my God. It was none other than Bear Grylls' motorbike, and he was super good about it. And my sister and I were at their place in east of London, and went around a paddock. I didn't see an electric wire and just rode straight into it and kind of got stuck in it. And I was just getting electrocuted, and yeah, it wasn't the great first day for us there. I felt really bad, and he was so good about it, but yeah, the stock were like a bit frightened, and yeah, I had to get the fence repaired. Like, we were trying to figure it out. Yeah, it was a bit awkward.
They're like, oh yeah, here's this champion skier. Here's this extreme sports athlete. Watch him crash your motorcycle into the electric fence.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
my sister was kind of just laughing. It was pretty good.
That's awesome, man. Let's go to your final inappropriate question. Here we go.
And finally, when were you the most nervous? When you dropped in for that natty dub flat when we're filming with MSP in Alaska, your NST finals run, or the West Coast triple plank bank slalom on the board? On that note, you're always doing the gnarliest stuff. You always seem so calm and collected. It's not until after you do something gnarly that you tell us that that's the most scared you've ever been. Tell us how you deal with the nerves. I'd love to hear it. Yeah, excited to hear what you got to say. You're making us Kiwis proud. Thanks for being such an inspiration and a good mate. You're a bloody legend.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm very grateful to have people like that in my life. So thank you, Finn. Super nervous for that bank slalom at the triple plank. And I think it's a combination of like knowing that my skills probably weren't good enough to like trust myself going down that course. And I think, yeah, I'm quite new to snowboarding. Yeah, there was that. And then there was also like I was injured and like meant to be chilling. So I was like, well, if I kind of can't technically turn around one of these corners or catch an edge or get yeeted off the side of this corner, I could really disrupt the next 12 months. That was nerve wracking. I mean, I didn't have to do it either.
Yeah, it's a total choice.
I wanted to, and in the moment, I had to like trust myself to hold the speed, and I actually had to channel a lot of the experience I've built over skiing, and then also like those kind of like riding mountain bike berms and stuff. So that was nerve wracking. The dub flat in Alaska, that was just a full like roll of the dice. That was kind of a Hail Mary. Yeah, I was obviously like super nervous, but I just didn't really let myself, like, I'd almost like come around to the fact that I was just going to be flying through the air either way, and I might as well be like rotating while I'm doing that. And then the NST finals run, it was nerve wracking for sure. I guess I had the injury stuff in the back of my mind as well. I had Sam up there though, so that was kind of nice. And I'd already been skiing a bunch that day, and the difference there with skiing versus snowboarding is I know that I can like trust myself on skis. I know that I can like point it and react and like be able to, the feeling will be right there. Like I can just tweak my left foot and my trajectory will be different, and I'll be like in a safe zone or able to shut down or whatever it is. Whereas the snowboarding, I'm like a bowling ball, just like going down a course, waiting for something bad to happen and not really able to react to things. So they're all different, but yeah, I think I deal with the nerves through focus and like trying to have a calm mindset. Obviously, like I'm experienced these days, so I can like pull that into different scenarios, but ultimately, like, yeah, trying to just block out like other thoughts and just be present with what's in front of you and like visualize how you're going to do things and how it's going to look while you're doing it, how it's going to feel. And then when you actually go to do it, your mind's already done it and your body just has to follow through. So there are like cool ways and techniques you can do that. And I mean, a lot of visualization and like meditation stuff can be helpful, because if you can like breath is like a huge tool. If you can breathe and like put yourself in these states of clarity and focus, and you can just do that sitting on the couch, you can practice that stuff, and then it's just a pathway that's slightly easier when you are put in like an intense scenario. But it's tough because your mind is like, you're in immediate danger here and you could die. So you have to get used to like quietening that and not letting that overcome, and still having that fear there. That's healthy and that's good, but being able to like channel that into like positive and like clear focus and motion is kind of different.
All right, man. That's an awesome, deep answer right there. That is Inappropriate Questions, and that's our podcast. And the cool thing about you is that you've kind of always totally believed in yourself, like time and time again. You're 17, you go to Chamonix, you know no one, but you take the passion that you have for skiing, and you don't have training. It's not like you're a race kid or a free ride program kid, but you take just skiing that you've learned just chasing your brother and your sister and your family, and you made it into a professional career where you're arguably one of the most professional and important skiers in the game. But the way that you're so humble and you really don't market yourself, well, that's probably the reason that you haven't blown up even bigger than you probably could be. But the beauty of it is that you're big enough for what you want to do. It doesn't seem like you really care about that and notoriety or anything like that. It's just what you want to do. You want to stay true to yourself, be authentic to yourself, love skiing, and help other people. That's what you do. It's a pretty amazing story, and I thank you for telling it.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and yeah, appreciate taking the time, and thanks.
So that was time with Craig Murray, and what an awesome, humble dude. While he could be a much bigger star in the ski world, he doesn't seem to care about that or worry about that at all. All he focuses on is the skiing, and that approach seems to be working out just fine for Weezy Davis, aka Craig Murray. The way he sees the mountain and puts lines together is different than almost anyone out there, and him and Sam Cooch absolutely destroyed the natural selection venue. It was an amazing event to watch, and we'll talk to Sam coming up pretty soon as well. But that was time with Craig Murray. What an incredible skier. What a humble dude. That's the podcast. At this point, I want to thank you for listening. I want to ask you to review me wherever you listen. I also want to ask you to think some positive thoughts for Ange and my family. And finally, please, please, please support my incredible sponsors who've made the show happen week in and week out. They are Elan Skis, Outdoor Research, Stanley, Liquid Force, and Best Day Brewing. Have a great week, everyone.